Get your paws off the table. Paws off the table. Okay, so this is the Reddit mess where I read a bunch of Reddit stories. We're gonna have a haha kiki moment. I'm going to give my unsolicited advice, and let's just go ahead and get into it. In regards to today's topic, I don't really have a topic, just whatever calls out to me. That's what we're gonna go for. So the first subreddit is Best Subredditor Updates. The person says, my husband told someone he was out with his little sister. He doesn't have one. I've been married to my husband for a long time. We have kids, a house, pets together. We have a very active boom boom life. We go on dates often and share a lot of the same hobbies. Today, he's at a pool party with our oldest son. I took our youngest to the water park in town where I ran into one of the other moms. We started talking and she mentioned at one point that it had been so nice to meet my husband's younger sister last week. I asked if she was my sister or his. I replied that neither one of us has a sister and asked what the woman looked like. She said she was young, petite, and dark hair. I only have a much younger brother with red hair, and he has a brother who is over 6 foot, so neither one of us have a sibling who could be confused to be a sister. Excuse me. He doesn't have any cousins, and I do, but he's not close with any of them. I'm freaking out because obviously the first thing my mind goes to is he's cheating. I remember him going to the park last week and he never made any mention of meeting up with anyone or hanging out with anyone there. My youngest son isn't old enough to tell me. I can't get through to him because his phone isn't on him since they're in the pool. So now I'm just here freaking out because my mind is going wild. Update. When he got home from the pool, I simply said, Trish said that she ran into you at the park. She said you were with someone you introduced as your sister. Who was it? I knew something was up because he was just silent and didn't say anything. Then he just said, okay, we need to talk. Do you want to do this now or later? Obviously, I said now, so he told the boys to go play downstairs. He admitted that he had been planning on leaving me for a while, but he had wanted to wait for the right time to do it. He said he had met someone else he had feelings for. He had met her last year and things happened slowly. He said he never cheated on me physically, but there were a lot of times he told me he was going to go to work when he was really texting her or going into the office to FaceTime her, and they would meet up sometimes. I asked him why he felt okay bringing our son around this person, and he said it was because our son already knew her. Which is when I found out that his little sister and person he's leaving me for is our son's daycare teacher. Baby! It ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe. Let me just finish. So my husband is the one who drops off every morning, so I guess that's how they met. I should have guessed something was up when he began volunteering to go pick him up as well. He seemed apologetic and he kept repeating that he never did anything physical and that he wanted to remain civil for the kids. I still haven't fully processed any of this. He's living in the basement apartment until we get things figured out. Babe, this is too much. The fact that I really don't have a lot of commentary because it's almost like this is one of those stories where it sucks, but it's like we already know the outcome. You know, the only thing that they can do at this moment in time is just to go their separate ways. It sucks because the husband was like, I was waiting on the right time. Baby, there is never going to be a right time. There's never going to be a right time to say that, hey, I'm leaving you. Especially because she had no idea. This whole time, they're still doing the boom boom. Everything is normal. She's tending to the kids. You know, she's living it up. So in her mind, everything is fine. And you're secretly, yeah, he may have said, well, I didn't cheat on you. I didn't take that next step. But I know for me, I can't speak for everyone else. Y'all can let me know in the comments. But I know for me, emotional cheating is just as bad as physical cheating, because now you have an intimate relationship with someone. Now you're imagining, you know, when you get into a relationship or when you're in the talking stage, before you're actually boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, you know, whatever. You have that moment, again, this is me, but you have that moment, and I feel like it happens in an instant. It's like where you imagine your life with that person. You imagine the things that you'll be doing with that person, going to the grocery store, decorating your house together, planning dates, trips, vacations and stuff like that. You have a moment in time where you're processing that. Do you know how personable that is? Do you know how intimate that feeling is? Like, are you picking up what I'm putting down? So you're telling me I am married to you. We have all of that. I am married to you, and you took a step out, and you're imagining, you're planning that with someone else when you already have that at home. And then you felt so comfortable to take I didn't really say, you felt comfortable to take our child out with you. No, that's still pretty messed up. Because you're taking the child out, yes, that baby, the daycare teacher, but the child is meeting the daycare teacher out and about. Like, you guys are actually you're showing a bond outside of work hours around my child. I really want to know how old the child is. She said her oldest wasn't old enough to tell her. But, that's just all sloppy. Because the husband knew what he was doing. Well, he knows her. It's the daycare teacher. So in a child's innocent mind, the child is not going to think, oh, daddy's doing something, inappropriate, or daddy's with the daycare teacher. So even if I were to tell mom, it's just the daycare teacher. It's just the daycare teacher. But shout out to Trish though, because Trish, she did that real smooth. Oh yeah, like, I saw your husband's, sister. Is that your sister, or is it his sister? Because that to me, that's a class act. The way she did that, that's a class act. A lot of people mentioned that in the comments because the way she set it up, it was real, it wasn't messy. It was one of those, I really like the way she did that, and a lot of people in the comments had mentioned that because it was real, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say, but it wasn't messy. It was just real, it was real cute. I'm gonna keep it like that. It was real cute because some people can't wait to sit up there and basically burn down a marriage and be like, oh, guess who I saw out and about with another woman. So she wasn't trying to jump the gun, but at the same time, it's like she just wanted to play it safe and put it out there so the wife can know without really jumping the gun. She's just putting it out there like, hey, this is what I know. Take with that information what you will and let it unfold. Like I said, I really don't have much to say about this story because we already know the outcome. Like, there's really not much she can do. So that's how it ended. There's no other updates. So let me know what y'all think about that. Okay, so the next subreddit is Best of Redditor Updates. And they go on to say, I am not the original poster. This is from an Ask Prudence column on Slate.com. I have no idea what that is, but I'm intrigued. So this person says, Dear Prudence, my mother-in-law hates me and makes no bones about it when she and I are alone. My husband doesn't believe me, and she even gloats about that. We have to attend family functions at her home about once a month. It used to be more frequent, but after I put my foot down, my husband agreed that monthly would be sufficient. The problem is that after each visit, I wind up with a bad case of diarrhea. My husband does not. I don't know if the other in-laws are infected. Because if I asked, it would get back to her. I suspect that my mother-in-law is putting something in my food or drink. Last time, I barely made it home before being struck down. Ooh, Jesus. Now I'm considering getting some adult undergarments to make sure I don't ruin the car's upholstery on the ride home from her place. Do you have any other advice? Girl. Breathe, girl, breathe. 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 What the hell? First off, why do people keep putting themselves in these situations? I promise you, love I don't care how much I can love someone. There's just no way in hell I can be in a relationship where I have to be around someone's toxic ass mother, family, brother, sister, like, and the husband is talking about, oh, we have to be over there once a month. There's just no way. I love you, but I don't love you that much. There's no bone in my body that will allow me to love someone that much that I would be putting myself in misery just to make you happy. I can't be that person. I can't do that anymore. So the fact that the mom is over here gloating about, he doesn't even suspect. He doesn't even suspect that I don't even like you. He doesn't. If that were me, I'm trying to put myself in this situation, since how people like to say I be biased sometimes. Putting myself in that situation, if I already said I do, and I have to be around someone's toxic ass mother gloating that she don't like me, I would start having to record conversations immediately, effective immediately. I would have to start recording conversations, putting cameras, hell, get a freaking body cam, just so everyone could be at witness to this. So my husband can have, without a shadow of a doubt, that his mother is toxic and she don't like me. Point blank, period, and the third. Now, if I felt like my mother-in-law was doing some mess, putting poisoning up my shit, that's making me boo-boo on myself, it's so hard to be like, I wouldn't be going over there. Because the person is specifically asking, what do I need to do? And it's like, I get it. You want to make sure that your husband is happy and you love your husband. So you're going to do all these things that make you miserable, but make him happy. If I had to go over there to my mother-in-law's house where I felt as though she was doing stuff, putting stuff in my food, I wouldn't eat anything. I wouldn't eat and or drink anything. As a matter of fact, I would take it up a step further. I would switch stuff with my husband. I'd be like, oh, babe, like, I don't like this water. I don't like this wine. Can we switch? Oh, babe, like, you have a little bit less rice. You have a little less rice and broccoli on your plate. Can we switch? Just to see. And if my husband ended up with a bad case of the runs, I knew for a fact she would have did something. Or if the moment that I would have switched, anything with my husband, and the mother-in-law made a face, or she tried to argue with me about switching my shit, I would know right then and there. Is that a good plan? Let me know in the comments, because I feel like that's a good plan, to switch plates, to switch drinks plates, with anything that were to touch my mouth, to switch it with my husband. And if he came back with a case of the runs, or a mother-in-law came back arguing with me, talking about, no, I need to eat my own shit, babe, you're guilty. Let me know, because I feel like that's a good plan. Okay, so here's an update. Dear Prudence, a couple of months ago, you answered my letter asking for advice regarding a situation involving my hateful mother-in-law, whom I suspected of tainting my food or drink at family functions at her home. You had suggested swapping plates. That's what I would have done. I promise you that's what I would have done. Okay, Prudence. We hear Prudence. Okay. So anyways, you suggested swapping plates with my husband to see if mother-in-law would react. However, as you noted, that would have required bringing my husband into my confidence. I did not feel it was wise to do that because he already didn't believe that his mother treated me badly. But the next function was at Easter. I tell you, I would have buttered his ass up. I'd be like, babe, if you switch plates with me, you got a surprise waiting home. A little boom boom. And if the mother-in-law really was trying to poison me, we wouldn't even make it to the boom boom because he's running straight to the bathroom. But anyways, but the next function was at Easter. She provided a traditional prime rib dinner set up buffet style, and I could see no way that could be problematic. However, when we arrived at her home, the dinner table was set with place cards, and in front of each card was a ramekin of horseradish sauce and a small pitcher of water. When nobody was looking, I switched the ramekin and pitcher between my husband's place and mine. After my husband and I returned home, he became racked with diarrhea. Yes. Go ahead, girl. Play the game. Play the game. I switched the wrong kind of picture between my husband's place and mine. After my husband and I returned home, he became racked with diarrhea. But I was not ill at all. In the morning, I told him that I switched the horseradish. In the morning, I told him that I had switched the horseradish and the water. He looked at me with such hatred in his eyes that I knew he had known all along that his mother... with such hatred in his eyes that I knew he had known all along. He looked at me and said his only words were to accuse me of poisoning him. I quickly packed a couple of bags and raced out of there. I have hired a divorce lawyer and I wouldn't be looking back. Thank you and your comments for your advice and concern. Alive to tell the story. Baby, that's how it ended? I have never wanted to know more details in my life. First off, how did that even begin? When did the husband even when did the husband even get into cahoots with his mother? When did he even realize what his mother was doing? Why would you even get married to someone that you would ultimately be backing your mother for doing that kind of BS? Because that's what it is. It's BS. And what was she giving me? What was she giving? The husband talking about, she's talking about the husband's face with, angry and full of hatred in his eyes and talking about, you were trying to poison me. What exactly was your mother putting in this food? That's crazy. That is so crazy. This right here, this is the epitome of gaslighting. Because if I'm coming to you and I'm telling you, oh my gosh, your mother-in-law, your mother does not like me. And you're like, no, you're tripping. And I have to fight you to be like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to see her. For you to tell me, okay, well, you can do it once a month. Do you have at least once a month? And then for us to go over there, and every time I leave, I'm literally getting ready to shit myself on the way home. I'm barely making it to the toilet. And you are watching me have all these type of bodily fluids and malfunctions after I leave your mother-in-law's house, knowing what she's doing to me. That is so scary to me. That's the scary part of being vulnerable and getting yourself into a relationship, because it's like you have to deal with the outcome of a relationship going south. The possibility, You have to deal with the possibility of a relationship going south. You have to deal with the fact that you may not really know your partner the way that you think that you know your partner. Because, baby, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. But I have so many questions. What? You know what? And someone made a good point. Someone said in the comments that maybe she had money. I really need to know. I need to know the factor. Like, what was she getting poisoned with? Was it just to make her go boo-boo? Or was it something that was slowly killing her because she had to go over there at least once a month? Excuse me. So was it just the satisfaction? No, because the husband wouldn't have flipped out the way that he had flipped out. Talking about, you tried to poison me. Those were the exact words that they used in the post. You tried to poison me. So it must have been something that was slowly taking effect on the body, if the husband were to say that. So someone made a good point and they said maybe that she had money or for the insurance. Oh, that's scary. This this is a different day. I have no makeup on. I have a completely different outfit on. I did not like the story, like the last story that I caught myself trying to do. You could tell that I really wasn't into it, and I don't like that. So, okay, so this will be the last story, and then we are closing out. So the subreddit is the best of Redditor updates, and the title is I, 30 female, found my deceased mother-in-law's 85 female diary. Now I don't know what to do with this information I've learned. So the person goes, this is quite a mess that I've gotten myself into, so I need advice. My mother-in-law had passed a few days ago, and my husband of 8 years, 32 male, sister-in-law, 31 female, and father-in-law, 88 male, have all been taking it hard. Mother-in-law and I had somewhat of an amicable relationship. We weren't at each other's throats, but we weren't the best of friends. Father-in-law asked me if I could sort through mother-in-law's things after the funeral, and I obliged. I had went through everything until I got to an old friend's. Oh, stop it. I had went through everything until I got into an old diary of hers from the 80s. I know it's my fault for being nosy, but I didn't know what it was, and it looked different from anything else that she would have owned. In the book, she talked about having trouble with her eldest daughter and how she was acting at the time. Pause, hold the phone. So once you realized it was a diary, you kept on reading. You kept on reading. Just nosy. Talking about, well, the fact that she's trying to excuse the behavior, saying, well, I didn't know what it was. Okay, I can give you that pass. You didn't know what it was. Maybe could have read a couple of sentences, but girl, you kept reading. After you found out it was a diary, you kept on reading. But anyways, in the book, she talks about having trouble with her eldest daughter and how she was acting at the time. This surprised me because sister-in-law is the youngest of the family, and the timeline didn't match. It turns out that mother-in-law not only had another child, but she was married to an entirely different person other than father-in-law. She always boasted about only being married once and said that father-in-law was the only husband for her. She talked about how her eldest never listens to her and that her and her ex got fed up, and he convinced her to send their daughter to one of those tough love boot camps. She wrote that it was the worst thing she had ever done and that her daughter came back worse than before. She wrote that they tried to work things out, but the daughter ran away and that she hadn't seen her since. She blamed her ex for all of this and divorced him. In the back of the diary, there was a copy of the daughter's birth certificate and a picture of her as a teen. I have no clue how to proceed. I mean, she just died and everyone in the family is grieving. And now I'm just stuck with mother-in-law's darkest secret, and I have no idea what to do or even if I should tell anyone. Any advice would be great right about now. Girl, play dead. I'm really trying to think what I would do if I was in that situation, because I'm one of those people, I have a tendency to overshare. And I know being around my loved one and like looking at my loved one constantly, that would be weighing on me. Like I would want to fess up and spill the beans. But there is a time and there's a place. They are grieving the loss of their mother. They have a certain image of their mother. And I don't think this would be the best time to share that information, that they have a long lost sister that their mother gave up on. Not only gave up on, not only gave up on, but was also in a committed relationship, married to someone else that I presume no one else in the family knows about. So I think the way I would go about that is I would just leave the diary out in the open for someone to just casually walk by and be nosy and read a couple of paragraphs as she did. I think that's the best thing that she could possibly do. Is just act like she was going through stuff, lay that out, lay a couple of the items out and just let them stumble upon it. That way, that saves her. So she doesn't look like the bad guy, just in case someone wanted to be confrontational with her. I would just leave it at that. Leave it to chance and leave it for someone else to go through the stuff. Because baby, it's not going to come from me. Not that. But there's an update. So big things have happened since the last time I posted. I got a lot of advice that ranged from don't tell your husband, or he'll leave you for ruining his family, or tell him, what? Okay now, that's a little extreme. But anyways, tell him, because if you don't, he'll leave you for keeping secrets from him. So that had my anxiety running rampant for a while on top of everything else. At that point, I just decided to sit sister-in-law and him down and tell them everything I found. Okay, she bold. I'm going to call the eldest daughter, Jenny, to make things clear. It turns out the sister-in-law knew everything about mother-in-law, and that's why they never had a good relationship, which shocked my husband. Turns out that mother-in-law was a straight-up liar, but so is her side of the family. First thing she lied about was her age. She is not 85, she's 73. Sister-in-law found a copy of her real birthday at her aunt's house, and that's when mother-in-law's side decided to come clean. They knew that father-in-law would never dated mother-in-law if he knew she already had a kid and was 12 years younger than him. So they all lied for her. They also told her about Jenny and her time at the reform camp. Sister-in-law admitted to contacting Jenny once. According to her, it didn't go well. From the little conversation that they had, it turns out that Jenny had tried to get back in contact with mother-in-law and had came to their house one day. Father-in-law was the one that greeted her, and because he knew nothing of mother-in-law's past, thought that she was lying and started threatening her to call the police on her for trespassing. When mother-in-law did come to the door, she acted like she didn't know who she was and closed the door in her face. Jenny has no desire to be contacted again and wants nothing to do with any of them. Fair enough. My husband is greatly upset about being kept in the dark for all these years, but he's working through with it. We've all agreed to never tell father-in-law any of what was discovered. He's an old man, and we decided it's better for him to live in ignorance. I've given the diary to sister-in-law, and she can do whatever she wants with it. Okay. I mean, well, I guess that worked itself out. I guess it worked itself out. In regards to the father-in-law, I feel like he already knows. But this is... my knees. In regards to father-in-law, I feel like they really don't need to... They're talking about they're not going to tell him because he's an old man. His wife just passed away. Just let him live out his days in peace. I feel like he has to know. In the back of his mind, he has to know. It's one thing if it was never mentioned to him that perhaps his wife could have been married, that perhaps she could have a child. But it's another thing at the fact that the child herself went to their house looking for her mother and the mother denying it. I feel like he chose to be ignorant. He chose to not believe in it. But I'm sure in the back of his mind, he knew there was some truth to it, but he decided to turn a blind eye because, there really shouldn't be a because, but I feel like in his mind, the way he may have been rationalizing it is, I'm already married to her. I've already created a family with her. We have, what they say, sister-in-law, brother. We already have 2 kids together. It's the deed is done. That type of thing. Like, the deed is already done. So whether or not there's some truth behind this, I'm not going to go digging. I'm not going to go creating problems when there's none at this moment, where there's none in our marriage, where there's none in my life. Does that make sense? I feel like he had to have known. I really truly feel like he had to have known. So, there's no sense of beating a dead horse. You can't, he knows. So he knows. That's interesting. The real question is, what would y'all do? Would y'all tell, if you were the wife in this situation, would you tell your husband? Or would you just leave the diary out for chance? In this situation, it really did work out the way it was supposed to work out. It worked out cool. But on the offside that it did not work out, what would you have done? I personally feel like I would not have wanted to get involved in that. So I would just leave it out there by chance. Nothing to do with me. I would leave it out there to chance.